what the people is giving to you here is pure gold. So don't let it go. So if you're taking your time to be in front of this computer, so do it for something, for purpose, for something that is going to grow in you, and you're going to go into the next level. So
we are being recorded, John, for posterity, man. 1,000 years from now, people be coming back to this day because it's that important what we have.
Well, okay. I'll agree.
Well, I mean, how could it be better? I mean, with the doctors that we have today and with the people that we have joining us to find out about Immunotech, it just couldn't be any better, could it?
Well, you know what? It's funny because when you say 1,000 years, as some of you know from my Facebook friends, you know, I'm out in South Dakota right now, and yesterday I was in the Badlands National Park, Keith, and some of the things there they figure are 150 million years old. So, you know, when you say 1,000 years, that's not a big deal.
Yep. Well, I mean, there was something there older than you yesterday. Oh, all right. We got to be good. Okay, we're gonna let now. You know, look at Foster. He's got that big smile. No, well, Foster, we got to have trouble. All right, we appreciate all of you being here. We're gonna value your time. It's 2 minutes after the hour. So we're going to hand it off to my good friend John Solleder, who is in South Dakota today. And you're probably going to want to grab a pen, take some notes. We will turn this into a YouTube video, but it's never the same. But once again, there's going to be some powerful information here. So, John, over to you.
You know, first of all, welcome everybody. I know we've got people on in at least 10 countries, maybe more. So welcome to all of you. Thank you for taking part of your valuable time to find out about Immunotech if you're new. If you've been here for a while, to find out more about the remarkable product that you take every single day called Immunocal. We've got a bevy of speakers lined up that are going to share some incredible information with us today. And the very first one that we're going to have, you know, who else would we start a call like this with to cover a little bit about how our product works, what makes our product unique, is the world's leading expert. And I say that without exaggeration, the world's leading expert. This man has written more about glutathione than any person perhaps on the planet in history, and certainly in contemporary times. He is the world's leading authority. He's authored a number of books on the subject, and I'm blessed to have him not only work with me every day building my distributorship, but more importantly, I also count him as a great friend and go to him for many, many, many questions on Immunocal from time to time. So let me turn the call over to our good friend, Dr. Jimmy Gutman.
Thank you very much, John, and thank you, Keith. It's an absolute pleasure being here. You guys have put together a really, really nice program. The guests that you're getting on to this show, always interesting. I'm always tuning in. You call me an expert. That's very nice of you, but I learn a ton. I'll just do a really brief introduction here. I'm going to take a hold of the screen. I'm going to try and share my screen here. If you just give me one moment, I'll try to get something interesting on there. Okay, just booting up now. There we go. Can you guys all see that? I'm going to assume that you can.
Yes, we can, Doctor.
Okay.
We've got everybody muted because they want to take notes.
Okay. Well, today we're going to be hearing from some very, very special guests. And these guests are highly steeped in the world of medicine and in science. And that's what makes this whole project so unique, because we just have a degree of validation and confirmation that you just don't see in the nutritional industry. And of course, there's going to be all kinds of people on the call today, people that are scientists, that are health professionals, but there's going to be a lot of people that are bus drivers or accountants, and they may not have the same kind of handle on science and biology and on medicine. So we're going to satisfy both ends of this spectrum. And for the people that want to get really into this, there's a couple of things you can do. You can always visit my Facebook page. You see the address down there in the bottom left. There's always tons of articles there that you can access about glutathione, a bunch of videos at my YouTube channel. And finally, I'm going to shamelessly pitch my last book, which is a part of a best-selling series. And really, if you have any questions at all about glutathione or the different pathologies that may be related to it, you're going to find the answers in this book. And more importantly, you're going to find the original references, the original research articles that lay the foundation for this whole area of glutathione in health and disease. And you can get that, you see the address down here in the bottom right. So let's start off by asking a very basic question. What is Immunocal? Now, again, we've got very, very high-level scientists on today. We also have people that are studying in other areas or perhaps retired. Let's look at a couple answers. Well, here's one answer. And the majority of people are going to look at this and become totally overwhelmed. But there are those that are interested in this kind of explanation. We're not going to quite get there today, although a couple of our guests are going to be speaking at a very high level. But for those of you who are not attracted by these kind of explanations and are more concerned about marketing, you know, like what are you going to say to the person that you're in the elevator with when they ask you, well, what's this Immunocal? I see you've got it on your shirt or on your badge. What is it? Well, your answer really could be quite simple. You could say that this is the most important supplement that you will ever use. Now, of course, that's clearly marketing, but I can assure you from studying this industry for over a quarter of a century, it's true. This is true. This is absolutely true. And during many of our lectures and our webinars and our online information, it's going to be very easy to convince anybody that this is the case. Just looking at our history, I mean, this is something that we own. We own this whole glutathione realm, especially when it comes to using natural proteins. This is Dr. Gustavo Bunos and Dr. Patricia Kongshaven. They discovered a natural protein that raises glutathione naturally and more effectively than any other substance you could be sticking in your mouth outside of a handful of drugs. So this is our science. We're the ones that, and the rest of the team, we're the first ones to have published human studies in this area using proteins to raise glutathione and looking at the role of glutathione in the immune system. It's us, it's our company, it's your scientists that are the ones that brought this to the world. And finally, here's a picture of 3 geniuses and one really good-looking guy. Well, how could I dare to put myself on the same page as these other 3 scientists? My major function over the last couple of decades is to take this knowledge and bring it to the rest of the world in a manner that it's digestible and understandable. So again, I'm going to boast a little here. I've sold more books on glutathione than all of the other authors on glutathione books in the world. And so what I've done is I've taken the message of these 3 incredible geniuses, and again, it made it available for everybody to read and understand. So we're talking, of course, about Immunocal raising glutathione. What does glutathione do? Very easily remembered by using the acronym IDEA, glutathione. What a great idea. I stands for the immune system. If your glutathione levels are low, your immune system is functioning at suboptimally. If your glutathione levels are high, well, then you can start to achieve optimal immune defense. D stands for detoxification. I tell people that next to water, you probably won't find a more important detoxification substance in your body. It detoxifies pesticides and herbicides and automobile exhaust and heavy metals and on and on. There are just too many thousands of things in our environment that we're exposed to that we don't need, and glutathione is critical and responsible for the removal of thousands and thousands of these. E stands for energy. Again, we can have a whole talk just on energy. Just to give you a broad sweep, when we look at part of what one of our guest speakers is going to be presenting today, you're going to see the importance of this in energy and in muscular performance. So I'm not going to steal any thunder from our guest later on. And finally, A stands for antioxidant. We call glutathione, and when I say we, I'm talking about many researchers, not just people at Immunotech. Glutathione is the master antioxidant, and it gained that notoriety for a few reasons, the most important of which is that given our knowledge of between 2,000 and 4,000 different antioxidants, none of them can work without the presence of glutathione. All antioxidant function depends on glutathione to drive this whole process. So there you go, 4 little letters that will tell you 95% of what glutathione does in your body. How does Immunocal work? Again, let's keep it simple. We'll get into the details during some of our talks. Number one, it raises glutathione. And when I first started working with this, with you guys and with John Molson, we go back to like 25 years. Not everybody, in fact, very few people have heard of glutathione, but given that there's over 150,000 medical publications to date, this is becoming part of our lexicon when you speak to anybody in health or nutrition. Now they have heard of glutathione and they're starting to understand it. And two, how does Immunocal work? Not only does it raise glutathione, but it's also the most important protein that you could put in your mouth. And I say this again based on protein measurements, such as something called a BV or biological value. We can assess a number to any protein that we put into our bodies. And when we look at BV, for example, Immunocal is head and shoulders above eggs, milk, beef, chicken, soy, you name it. That should be enough reason for you to take it. What does Immunocal do? 30 chapters of different pathologies that it's involved in, but more simply, because it's a natural product and we can't make medical claims, just remember these 3 areas. It's going to make you healthier. It's going to make you stronger. And right now, our whole focus is on Immunocal and the brain. And that's why we have that smarter logo over there. We've been around for over 40 years. We have upwards of, I don't know, between 80 and I guess 100 international patents on the Immunocal. By the end of this year, it says 60 plus articles. I'm hoping that by 2021, we will have over 70 published articles in the medical literature on Immunocal. You're not going to find a company that has 5. And finally, these are books. Here's the Physician's Desk reference, a PDR. This is the American version of something we have in Canada called a CPS, that blue book that you Canadians have seen on your doctor's desk. Well, these books sit on the desk of every single doctor and every single pharmacist in North America. And these books contain all the drugs that a doctor can prescribe. When you turn to the substances that start with the letter I, you're going to find something in there that's not a drug, something called Immunocal, listed with clinical indications, contraindications, clinical pharmacology, and all the other things entrenched into medical language that will make your physician or health professional quite comfortable that this is something that is legitimate and can be recommended to a patient. So I'm going to hand it back to you guys, and I tell you, there's you're going to have listen to some people who are absolutely going to be quite impressive with what they're going to say about this. This is information that many of you have not heard before, and I'm so proud to have these people on the call. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gutman. And you know, one quick comment. And of course, I've probably heard you speak as much as anybody on the planet over the last 25 years. But what I love is how you take something so complex and make it so simple. So I don't know how you do that, but it's magic and it's appreciated. Thank you once again for being on the call. I know you're going to be back with us a little bit later today.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Hey, our next speaker is another, really another keystone of the Immunotech success story over the last 25 years. One of the original investors in the company. That's how much he believed in it, going way back to 1996. And John Molson, what can I say about the guy? I mean, he's been a world-class competitor in athletics. He's produced a son who's made it all the way to the top level in his particular sport. He knows a great deal about athletic performance, as well as obviously general overall health, and he lives it. You'll know when you see John, he's an extremely healthy individual. He lives, eats, and sleeps Immunocal. So I don't want to take away any of his thunder. I want to turn the call over to my good friend, John Molson. And I know John has a very, very special guest with us today. So like the rest of you, I'm going to be sitting here taking notes. John, welcome to the call.
Thank you, John. So when Dr. Droog retired from the German National Cancer Institute and moved to Canada to assume the position of Chief Science Officer at Immunotech, he did so with the goal of continuing his research activities. Dr. Droog was one of the world authorities in the field of aging research, having published many articles on the subject in the medical literature. We've discussed looking at Immunocal's impact on a whole series of parameters in the elderly, and one key aspect was physical performance. As we've done most of our research through McGill and the MUHC, I was interested in finding new clinical partners to run this study. And after exhaustive search, we were very fortunate to find a group with extensive experience in the field. Our next speaker was one of the principal investigators of the study. Dr. Krelis is a professor, Department of Exercise Science at the University of Quebec in Montreal, and a researcher at the University Institute of Geriatric Research at Montreal. Dr. Krelis received his PhD in exercise science from the Department of Kinesiology at the University of Montreal. His specialization was in muscle fatigue. He did a postdoctoral fellowship at the Faculty of Medicine and Department of Nutrition, University of Montreal, specializing in the characterization of subgroups of obesity. Dr. Krelis' expertise is in the field of exercise physiology and clinical research, as well as in factors regulating cardiometabolic disturbances, body composition, energy expenditure, and muscle strength in type 2 diabetes and obesity. In particular, his research investigates the characteristics and potential mechanisms underlying two unique subgroups of obesity: metabolically healthy but obese, and metabolically obese normal weight individuals. He has extensive experience in clinical intervention studies, which include different exercise training programs and nutritional protocols in different at-risk populations. He's published 105 peer-reviewed articles and supervised graduate students and postdoctoral fellows. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great privilege to welcome Dr. Krelis to our call today.
Thank you, Mr. John Molson, for that introduction. I also like to thank Immunotech, as well as our hosts, Mr. Keith Hooper and Mr. John Solleder, for inviting me. So, and also I'd like to thank everybody here for tuning in. So I'd just like to pull up my PowerPoint presentation, show you all. And put it up like that. Okay. I hope everybody can see this. So mainly what I'm going to talk about is going to be the study that we did with Immunotech. So the title of that study was the effect of cysteine-rich whey protein, which was the Immunocal product, supplementation, and it was in combination with resistance training on muscle strength and lean body mass in non-frail elderly subjects. It was a randomized, double-blind controlled study. So I'd just like to give an introduction about what happens with how muscle strength and muscle mass evolves throughout time. So if you look in the first couple of decades of life, which is early in life, you see that there is a nice increase in muscle mass and strength. And then look what happens at the fourth decade of life. There starts to be a decrease in muscle strength and muscle mass. So here you see some people actually with this decrease is actually better maintained, but there's a large population also that will have a very big decrease in their muscle mass and strength, to the point where they're probably going to eventually hit what we call this disability threshold right here. And if they do that and they continue going down, well, eventually they're going to need some kind of rehabilitation, and also the quality of life is going to decrease very much. But the good news is you can do something about this. You can do some environmental changes here. Specifically, you can change your lifestyle habits and able to attenuate this decrease of muscle strength and muscle mass. But what I also would like to point out, and this is something that you can also say to others here, that prevention is key. So this decrease in muscle strength and muscle mass starts at the fourth decade of life. It decreases about 1% every year and then accelerates even more. So if someone wants to intervene earlier here enough, they will be able to prevent problems with their health later on in life. Now, so what is something that you can do in terms of the lifestyle habits? Well, resistance training is one of them. And resistance training has been shown by multiple studies that it can easily increase muscle mass and also muscle strength. Okay, that is actually something that is well established. Now, also another factor here is inadequate protein intake, especially in the elderly, that we know that is also associated with a decrease in muscle mass and muscle strength. Now, it's come to the point where in the scientific literature, it is now recommended that we incorporate both resistance training programs and an inadequate protein intake. Specifically, we're looking at about 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight of protein intake for good maintenance of muscle mass and muscle strength in the elderly population. So before I introduce the study, I'd just like to mention that, as shown by Dr. Gutman, that glutathione is a powerful antioxidant. And what happens is with this powerful antioxidant, if it decreases in our body, it could affect our muscle mass and our muscle strength. So we know that cysteine is a precursor of a glutathione. So in Immunocal, it is a cysteine-rich whey protein that will help you increase the levels of glutathione. So this is the study that we did with Immunocal. It was published in the Journal of Nutrition, Health, and Aging. And as I mentioned earlier, the title of that study was The Effects of Cysteine-Rich Whey Protein, Immunocal Product, Supplementation, was in combination with resistance training on muscle strength and lean body mass in non-frail elderly subjects. And what's important here that I'd like to point out is the scientific rigor of how this was done. It was a randomized double-blind control study, which is the highest standard of doing a scientific study. And this was published back in October 2014. Now, I'm just going to go through a little bit of the methods, how this was done. So we only included elderly participants. We're talking about 65 years and above. And then after, what we did is we measured their muscle strength and body composition testing here that we did. I'll show you exactly how that was done in the next slide. And then after, we were able to recruit 99 participants. And again, it was a double-blind randomized controlled study. So we made two groups here. One group was what we call the casein group, and the other group was what we call here the Immunocal group. And they both performed the same intervention in terms of resistance training, and they both took their respective product here. In the casein group, there was a dropout after the intervention of about 17 people, and in the Immunocal group, there was a dropout of about 15 people. And at the end of this study, we remeasured muscle strength and body composition for both groups. Now, how did we measure body composition? It was done with the reference in clinical study, which is called the DEXA, or the dual energy X-ray absorptiometry. And this machine right here measures body weight, lean body mass, and fat mass at a very precise level. So that was done before and after the intervention for both groups. Thereafter, in terms of products, the casein group here took 20 grams of casein, and they also performed resistance training. They did it for 3 times a week for 135 days. And in the Immunocal group, they also took 20 grams per day, plus they also did resistance training for 3 times a week for 135 days. Now, I'd like to also point out that, that this was a quality study. That is, what we did was did a comparison of 2 different products. Our goal here was to see if one product was better than the other one. For the resistance training program, what we did is we targeted all the major muscle groups. So specifically, we did leg press, we did chest press, we did lateral pull downs for the back, we did exercise for the triceps, an exercise here for the shoulders, as well as an exercise here for the biceps. So here are the results of this study in terms of what happened with the body composition. So here we have the casein group, and here we have the Immunocal group. And these are the values before the intervention and after the intervention for both groups. So this is pre and post. So as you can see, this was an elderly population. We're talking about the mean age was around 70 years old. And here's the distribution of sex between men and women in this study. And it's important to note, so here's the females. There was more females in this study than males over here. So you see that in both groups that the women outnumber the men. And this is interesting here because it actually follows something that we see in the literature, that women usually tend to take care more of their health than men here. This is probably why they probably live longer than, at least in part, than men throughout a lifetime here. So this is something, a population that you can actually target. In terms of body weight and total lean body mass and fat mass, which is the measurements of body composition that we've done with the DEXA, what we can see here for both group, pre-intervention and post-intervention, so this right here, these two, as well as these two, there was no increase or change, which I would say, with their body weight for both groups. It did not change. Same thing with lean body mass, which is can consider their muscle mass. There was no change before and after in the casein group, as well as before and after for the Immunocal group. In terms of fat mass, there too we did not see any significant changes in the casein group before and after the intervention. Same thing here with the Immunocal group, no difference before and after with the fat mass in the Immunocal group. So here is actually the main finding of the study. So we did measure muscle strength in both the casein and Immunocal group. So the casein is the white and the Immunocal is the blue. So here, if we look at the values before the study started, we can see that they started at the same point in terms of muscle strength. There was no difference between the group, which is good. That's what we wanted. And then afterward, what happens after the intervention? So in the casein group here in white, we see that there is a significant increase in muscle strength, which was expected. And however, in the Immunocal group, we see that this increase in strength was a lot higher. We see that there was actually a 10% difference between the casein group and Immunocal. So the Immunocal group had a better increase in muscle strength than the casein group. So it outperformed it by about 10%. And this finding is an important finding, because if we look at this study here, it goes to show how important strength is. In this big study over here, it's very large. We're talking about over 142,000 participants that were recruited in 17 countries. And what they did is they did a 4-year follow-up with these participants. And what the study's objective was, it was to see what is the relationship between levels of grip strength here and different chronic diseases. So what they did is they recruited all these participants. And after that, they measured the grip strength using this piece of equipment here. And after that, what they did is they made 3 different groups. One group here, the one that you see with the blue here, was the participants that had the lowest muscle grip strength. The red one here was the individuals that had the middle grip strength, and the green one here was the people that had the highest grip strength. So these people here were the strongest, the green, and the people here in the blue were the weakest. And what they did is they followed them for 4 years, and then they looked what happened at the prevalence of different chronic diseases that you see over here. So if we take the first one here, which is myocardial infarction, we see here that the people who are the weakest, the prevalence here of this cardiovascular disease is a lot higher than the people here in the green, which is the strongest. So the people who are the strongest had less cardiovascular disease here than the people who were the weakest. And you see the same thing here with stroke. The people who were the strongest, less prevalence here of stroke than the people who were the weakest. It doesn't limit also to cardiovascular disease. We can also see this with other chronic diseases such as cancer. The people who are the strongest, they develop less cancer than the people who were the weakest. Same thing with respiratory problems. Them too, the people who are the strongest, less prevalence than the people who were the weakest. And you see the same thing for pneumonia, for fall, and for fractures. Every time the participants that were the strongest had less of this problem than the people who were the weakest. So this goes to show that muscle strength is an important parameter here to take into consideration, because it's associated with your health overall later in life. And also another important message is that it's never too late to start to do resistance training. Here in this study, what they did, they took individuals who were in their 90s, and we asked them to, and were asked actually to participate in a resistance training program or a muscular program. And what they did here is they actually did a resistance training program that was a pretty high intensity. We're talking about at least 80% of their 1 RM max, which is 80% of how much they can lift one time. So what they did is they did a resistance training program for 8 weeks, and then they measured their strength before and after, and they saw that even in people who were in their 90s were able to significantly increase the muscle strength. You can do it. And then they also looked at changes in muscle mass, and they looked at their total muscle mass, at their quadricep, and even at their hamstrings. And there as well, there was significant increases in all these 3 different muscles over here, and specifically the total muscle here. So the message I want to be able to say here is that you don't have to, at any age here, the effects of resistance training are there. So it's never too late to start. Now, what are the clinical implications and where can we go with this? So healthcare professionals can actually consider recommending the combination of resistance training and the cysteine-rich whey protein supplement Immunocal here when they're planning their nutritional and exercise intervention programs. And also, where can we go this? So a logical next step would be that taking the supplementation of Immunocal plus resistance training, it will be interesting to see what happens in terms of long-term outcomes. And the long-term outcomes I'm thinking about here is more functional capacity, their quality of life, and specifically chronic diseases and mortality. Will you live longer? Will you have less chronic diseases by doing this sort of intervention? So that will be something that future studies can actually do. So I'd just like to finish off here of the importance of why we do research. And it's important to be able to, when you have a question and that we don't have a lot of information, it's important to do a study on it. And the purpose of research is to correct perceptions. Specifically, we're here to offer we're here to offer solutions to problems that are must be based on knowledge, and this is key here. It must be based on results and knowledge, and not on beliefs or guesses, because this is something that we see a lot, specifically in the general population and even in gyms. I see that people try always to look at their own beliefs, and this is something that we have to be careful with, and we should always base it on scientific research. And at the end, the whole purpose of this is to be able to take this research and apply it to the general population, or to individuals, or even into a community. And the goal is always to improve the quality of life and the health of this individual. So I'd just like to thank Immunotech again, and Mr. John Molson for allowing us to participate in the study, and also my colleague, Dr. Remy Wabasaloe, as well as personnel, and as well as the Institut de Recherche Clinique de Montréal, or the ERCM, where the study was actually performed. So at this time, if anybody has any questions, I guess there's a question period right now. We can take them.
Anthony, I'll just I'll make one comment. You can explain to all the participants who Dr. Remy Wabasaloe is after I just make this statement. I remember after we completed the study, and you can expand on this as well, he said to me, he said, you know, John, he said, many companies come to me with a problem to investigate, and the application, you know, is very esoteric and has no real benefit to society. He said, but you know, this study that we did is completely the opposite of that. It has such broad implications, and I always remember that statement, and coming from him, that was very meaningful. So maybe you can explain to all the participants who he is and kind of what he's saying.
Okay, yes.
With that statement.
So Dr. Remy Wabasaloe, he's a post colleague of mine. I've worked with him for many years, and he's a great colleague. He's a medical doctor, and he's one of those medical doctors that loves to do research. And it's important to him because he actually sees it. So he actually does the research and actually is able to see with his own eyes and to be able to recommend it and apply it, okay? Because that's important to him. And he's been doing this throughout his whole career. And with Immunotech, we had a great experience. And we saw this with the study that we did. So it was great working with him. It was great working with Immunotech. We had a great relationship. And at the end of the day, we were able to provide evidence and be able to show that what we did with this study, we were able to apply it to the general population, to the elderly specifically.
Yeah, and he's also, you can maybe, I mean, he's funded also by the NIH. I mean, he gets grants from a lot of different institutions. Yes,
he is well funded. He has maybe from NIH, even the CHR, which is equivalent to the NIH in Canada. He has a big laboratory. He has lots of personnel. He's well respected. He has tons and tons of publications, and it's always a pleasure working with him. And I will continue to be working with him.
So to me, you know, the compliment and the quality of the compliment is always determined by the person giving a compliment. So to hear that coming from him, to me, is you know, I think we helped him, and we also helped answer some important questions about frailty, about aging, and providing seniors with some important information about how to improve the quality of the aging process.
Yes, I agree. It was a fun experience.
John, do you have any questions?
I just had a couple of them, and I think you actually referenced this, Doctor, but if you could, just so everybody hears it a second time, the best time to start resistance training is as soon as possible. Is that a correct statement?
Yes. So you want to start this early in life. You know, you don't have to wait till there's a problem in your life. There's some kind of a health problem. And I know this in our society, we kind of tend to do something like that. But hopefully we can start changing that. It's important to be able to start early in life and be able to prevent something happening later in life. So we can start as early as possible. Changing your lifestyle habits doing resistance training here is something that I would recommend to people doing as early as possible, yes.
Great.
And,
Second question.
Okay.
Go ahead, John.
Okay, Anthony. Again, I mentioned that Dr. Droog was involved in the design of this study, and Dr. Droog was one of the scientists who characterized cachexia. And when you have this combination, he talked about cachexia and this process of unhealthy aging and how it impacts the elderly. And maybe we can just touch on this, that after the 4th and 5th decade of life, there are some subgroups of the population that lose muscle mass more quickly than the norm. And he explained to me that primarily you see this coming from the leg muscles. And so when you combine that loss of muscle mass in the leg muscles with loss of balance, that's why you have many seniors that become predisposed to falls. Oh, yes. And so that's another another way to think about this in terms of not just being able to grip something, but also your stability as you age.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, one of the things that you actually see in the elderly is this. Yes, so they can lose balance, and they're very fearful to fall. And if they're very fearful, they're going to immobilize them, so they're not going to get out and do something. And they need to be able to move and do something. So we have to help them actually preserve their muscle mass and the muscle strength in order to avoid all these problems and help them maintain as much quality of life as possible. And this can start very early on. You have to wait here to be able to do something like this. So the elderly population, there's a lot of now. We actually, this is a wide, most of North America now, the aging, there's an aging population here, and this is a actually good population to be able to target, to be able to help them maintain their muscle mass and strength in order to avoid any falls in the lifetime and cause injury. So this is a question also of improving the quality of life, because if they do fall, then they're going to always be afraid to be able to do something else.
So go ahead, John.
That's so true, because I've watched only in my own family that my mother broke her hip early on. She was in her 50s and scared to death to do anything, and yet through the grace of God and Immunocal, she made it to 92. However, my sister broke her hip, her elbow, and her shoulder 3 months ago, and has not only used Immunocal prior to that, and continues obviously, but also has always been very involved in yoga, karate, etc., and is recovering very, very quickly with the attitude of how fast can I get back to doing what I used to do. And I think it's an attitude, certainly. But let me ask a different question, Doctor, if I can, along those lines. Obviously, we work with a lot of athletes. We've got a lot of athletes on the call today, all different types of athletes, from weekend warriors that are running, 5Ks and 10Ks to a lot of power lifters that are doing some crazy weights. Let's talk about the athlete for a second who wouldn't be in the 10% category in terms of strength gain, because obviously they're already pretty strong. But what does an athlete expect to gain when he or she starts to take Immunocal at any age? What's been your experience in terms of their gain, somebody who's already at the, let's say, the 90-95% level of their strength capacity? What have you found in terms of their strength increases?
So it's a good question. Again, this is not only limited to the elderly population, but also to the athletes. So there has been a study in the past that actually studied the effects of Immunocal on muscle performance in younger athletes, and there too they showed that there was an improvement. So these individuals can also benefit from that. So it's not also the elderly. So this is something we can recommend pretty much, I guess, to any population. And you need to understand, any increase specific for the athlete is something positive. This could be a difference between first place and second place. So we need to understand, even if it might be smaller, it's still a gain, okay? And athletes are always looking for that. Just a little bit of a difference can make, like again, a gold medal or a silver medal. So we always have to look at turning every stone here to be looking at every single edge we can get out there. So if the Immunocal can be able to provide that, then this is something that the athlete will be, I'm sure, happy with.
Yeah, I've known guys throughout my experience in 40 plus years of being around athletes and being one and associating with them. I know guys, and I'm kidding on this, of course, and I'm sure you have too, and I know John has too. I know guys who would eat ground glass if they could get 1% stronger. And when you look at Immunocal, it's such an easier option, obviously, than some of the crazy stuff that we've seen people do over the years. Needless to say, but along those lines. So, when we talk about the elderly, it's 1% of the population. When we talk about the whether it's the weekend warrior or the serious athlete that is perhaps doing some significant things in their training. The other 90% of the population, the person who maybe, they've got a 9-to-5 job, they come home, they feed the kids, and they watch the TV instead of doing something. How does that person gain by maybe taking baby steps incrementally of starting to use Immunocal, probably the easiest thing that they can do, and then going back to the gym? What have you found that they gain? That person, that middle-aged person who's just for whatever reason has gotten lazy because of life circumstances, and now they're getting back. What kind of gain do you expect or have you seen in those type of, let's call them 40 to 60-year-olds that, are getting back after, hey, I want to get healthy again. I want to feel fit again.
Yeah, so these people are probably also going to be the ones that are going to benefit more than the athletes, because if you're starting with a lower level over here and you're taking now, you're actually changing and you're doing an intervention, you're actually going to be able to have significant gains, especially in the beginning. So these people here are actually going to see that something is happening and they're getting gains, and then they'll be able to probably want to continue doing something like this. So they're also going to get. We also need to understand that there's with Immunocal, there's a powerful antioxidant, the glutathione, that's going to be in their system, and this is also associated with a better health outcomes later on in life. So this is like a kind of where I was talking about prevention. If you start taking it at 40, 50, or 60 years old, this will help you later on to be able to prevent disabilities and reduce your quality of life. So this is what you want to try and avoid. So these people are actually the ones that you want to be able to target by telling them, hey, listen, you got to start now, because later down, if you don't do anything later down the road, that's where all the things are going to happen, and it may be too late for some of you. So might as well start now taking care of your health before it's too late.
When somebody has had an injury, a sports-related injury, or perhaps not, a car accident, whatever, what do you recommend in terms of dosage, in terms of how to use Immunocal to recover from knee surgery, back surgery, whatever it happens to be, be they in the athletic world or they be in this, the senior population that you've been working with?
So in terms of dosage, what should it be able to be taken in terms of the protein intake?
Right. Both protein intake and also sachets of Immunocal.
So I would say about 20 grams that we've seen that is something that they can actually maintain their muscle mass and their muscle strength. There has been dose-dependent studies too that I've seen that can go from 20 to 30 even to 40. So up to 40 grams here can actually also help you increase your muscle mass and muscle strength. Usually for the athletes, they want to be, if you want to give another way of seeing the numbers, about 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight protein till up to 1.6. This is when the range where you actually can see benefits in terms of muscle strength and muscle mass. So anywhere between 20 and 40 grams, I would say, of the packs of the supplementation will actually show some gains.
Great. And I think, Doctor, I'm getting a message here. Dr. Gutman had a question for you.
Sure.
Alberto's got to free him up, I think.
Yeah, great presentation, Anthony. Thank you very, very much. Yes, the thing that struck me most was the importance of what a 10% increase we talk about what that increment means. For example, the difference between being in bed and being in a wheelchair. Can you just address what 10% means to an elderly person who is challenged with muscle strength for whatever reason?
Yeah. So what we did here in the study, we see a 10% increase, which we use a statistical analysis to be able to say, okay, this was a 10%, which is very significant in terms of mathematical terms. But however, you can also look at it in clinical significance. Usually, a clinical significant, anything that is an increase of about 5% can be you can be said that this is a clinically significant. So yes, so that in itself can be someone who will be able to be functional or not functional, because the elderly, functional capacity is a real problem. So will they be able to walk properly? Will they be able to take the stairs? Will they be able to just go to the supermarket and back and lift bags? So it could be that the difference between that. And someone who is elderly, and it's a question of independence at the end. So if you're able to gain your independence over here, this is a very significant step here for an elderly individual. Because if there's nobody else around to help them, I mean, they're going to have a very tough time here. So being functional here, and this is where the muscle strength here will help an individual. The stronger they are, the more capable they'll be able to do things in their life, or else it will be limited.
Yes, because as you know, Anthony, my background is in emergency medicine, so I tend to be more practical than scientific. So making that translation to a functional application, like maintaining a person's independence, ability to take care of themselves at home, this for the layperson is a very real, tangible difference. And I think John Molson also alluded to the fact that for someone working in the emergency department, we're going to see that difference in 10% strength by the amount of people that come in with hip fractures or wrist fractures, or any other tumbles or spills, or even burns that are a result of loss of muscle strength and independence. So your research has really added to the entirety of this field of glutathione augmentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone, it's Suzette here. While we wait for them to get back, I'm going to tell you a little ditty. I have an oldie, 5 years old, great aunt. She had been on Immunocal quite a while. And so she started to complain and said to me, I'm 95 years old. How am I going to die? I got no diseases. What am I going to do? So she hung around for a while longer, and, you know, she had a bit of gout, but on the whole, she was doing really good. And finally, at 102, she says to me, can I get off this stuff now? All my friends are gone. So talk about quality of life, that she got to live to a ripe old age. And within 3 months of getting off her Immunocal, her memory started to go, and she passed within like 7 months. So anti-aging, quality of life, this is a great product for that. Back to whoever.
Hey, I think we're up to Dr. McTavish is where we are here. Is Dr. McTavish with us?
Hello.
There he is. Hi, Doc. How are you?
I'm grand. How are you?
I'm stressed out. Technology is not being my friend today, but I'm going to turn the call over to you because I know you have some additional recommendations on how to use what the doctor just shared with us.
I do. And if you're stressed out with technology, then you need more Immunocal. No,
absolutely.
Look, thanks for inviting me again on these calls. I'm really humbled and very appreciative of that. And you could probably tell I'm wearing these glasses now because it's now dark and the light has to change and I have to put on artificial light. And Anthony, I thought that your talk was really great and comprehensive, and it really gives credence to the necessary thing that we all need to do, and that is to get out and exercise. This is the real key thing that we need to do, because we've seen the evidence with what Anthony has produced here. We have seen evidence of how if somebody is working doing sport and they have an injury like with Dr. Linzman, and how Immunocal can help. And we've seen how Dr. Lewis has had enormous effects on reducing the oxidative load when exercise is there. And then we know for a fact that as we get older, the ability to produce more glutathione is going to be predicated on the level of cysteine within the system. And we know that not everybody is on this product, and how many people really need this product. But what I want to do is I want to focus on slide 2 of Dr. Anthony's presentation tonight. And it was basically the environmental changes can lower the disability threshold that will create a change within the physiology that creates a change within the ability to probably process glutathione, or maybe even to make glutathione. And what I'm going to do is I want to go into something that we've all maybe not really thought about. And that is how light can sculpt and change the reactivity and what we call the redox state of glutathione. See, glutathione is actually affected by light and light synthesis. Now, this is light that's going to come through our eye and through our skin, and this affects the redox state of a cell, and particularly in the mitochondria, which then creates a change in how it is going to make the glutathione, how it can synthesize glutathione. And we know that there are, from studies at the transcriptional level, which is where we're trying to make different DNA by looking at DNA and then making RNA and all these things and mechanisms to make more genes. This is where we can see the evidence of the reactive oxygen species. The thing that we need to maybe think about is that when we exercise, we should really try to exercise outdoors where there is full spectrum light. Why is that so important? Because we know that the total free amino acid content within a cell is going to be very, very influenced by the light in which you exercise in. And I say this because we can have, there's a couple of episodes that have happened in the CrossFit world. I think one of the guys I was looking at today, Kevin Ogre, who was a CrossFit fanatic and a real big guy in that CrossFit world, and he did a snatch, which is where we put the weight up very quickly and then boom, boom, and then we got this movement. And he fractured his thoracic spine and collapsed. Now he's paralyzed. But we have to understand that most of CrossFit people exercise indoors. Under what? Artificial light. Artificial light is a different frequency to the sunlight. This will have an effect on your glutathione synthesis. So we take the Immunocal and the Immunocal Platinum with great earnest, and we have we have 3 wonderful, amazing speakers that have shown us how fantastic that this product can do to help our physiology. But what we have to bear in mind is the modernization of our physiology based on the environment that we are exposed to, which is exactly what Anthony said in his second slide, is that the environmental changes will have a huge impact on that disability of that person. But we forgot how light sculpts our life. John Ott wrote about this in the 70s. It's a book that everyone has forgotten, but it's the most important book we should read. And it's cheap. It's called Health and Light. And he also explains that light can change the way our physiology alters at a cellular level, at a quantum level. we know that when we're looking at how the total free amino acid pool content within a cell is changed by light intensity, and we know that it is greatly reduced by his research and other research by pink light. Now this gives you an indication about something else you need to consider, is what fabric you're wearing on your skin, because every cell receptor on your skin is picking up that frequency of light that fabric is projecting. And it projects onto you. And I've seen this so many times when I muscle test people, when they walk into my treatment room and I'm looking at them and I'm going, whoa, that color is not right. And you muscle test them, you can muscle test every muscle that you want, and they are all weak. This is under normal light, daylight. If I were to do this under artificial light, it may get a different answer from their muscle test. But what we know is that color can influence how the physiology of the cell works. So when we're looking at exercise and how we can utilize this product and make it so that it maximizes our physiology, it maximizes the muscle to be able to maintain its integrity as we age, then we need to look at light. We need to look at the light in where we live, how we work, how we exercise, and the bottom line is the more you exercise outside, I'm pointing that way because that's where my window is. The more we exercise outside, even though it's dark, the more you're going to produce free radicals in the triplet state rather than the singlet state. And this is very important because the free radicals have a different way of operating, and they are also affected by light. And this is what we need to know when we're looking at this from the perspective of when we work out and we're doing these exercises. Are we doing these under natural light or fake light? And if it's fake light, you really want to make it really close to something that sunlight can give. And what is the most close light that will give us that? Well, it's candlelight, it's firelight, it's the warmer lights. You see, what happens is that the screen that you're looking at me right now is too blue. And this blue is intercepting every receptor in your eye, on your skin, and it's altering your melanopsin receptors. And the melanopsin receptors are going to have a big influence on your melatonin levels, and it's also going to affect so many other different systems in our body. And one of those is going to be your ability to take the wonderful product of Immunocal and your cell to be able to use that at its maximum potential. And this is really where we need to look at our base of how we are living in the light environment, because it's ultimately sculpting everything we do, everything we feel and see via either neurochemistry or hormonal chemistry. So we know that that is going to help look at how we're going to take the information that we had from the three most amazing speakers in the last 3 months and look at how we can use the ability to have a product that we know is going to raise our glutathione levels, but that take it to another level where we can then ultimately utilize it to its fullest capability within our own environment that we're exposed to. And it's also going to be predicated on the age and where you live. If we live in a higher latitude, the sun is not going to be as strong. If you're down in Baton Rouge, it's going to be different from somebody in Toronto or me in just south of London or somebody who's down near the equator. All of these things will affect your glutathione synthesis and how that you can then use the Immunocal in your favor when we exercise, because we know when we exercise, we're naturally going to produce a free radical. We produce free radicals by proxy just by living on this planet. But by exercising, we're asking the cell, please make more energy for me to make more energy to do the exercise. So if we need to increase our pooling of the ability to make more energy, we need to increase the electron transport chain and other systems in our cell that are linked into this thing called the redox state. And this has an influence on our antioxidant pooling. And it also has an influence on the reactive oxygen species and how that reacts to other elements within the cell, and how this can have an effect ultimately on our entire body and what we really get out of when we exercise. When we exercise, we know, and it's been proven so many times, when we have good pooling of glutathione, we are going to have a better recovery. Why? Because we can reduce that free radical pooling or the reactive oxygen species, particularly if you're doing this in a blue light environment that's inside a gym with fake lighting. You're going to increase more single oxidant free radical pooling, which is not good. This is what happened to this guy who was a CrossFit guy. So this is why we want to exercise as much as we can. Go outside and just walk. Walk in the sun as much as you can. That's probably one of the best things that we can do to utilize how the pooling of the glutathione from taking Immunocal to making us stronger and be able to maintain the muscle mass that Anthony was talking about, to maintain the integrity of the cell. Because you think about it, how many mitochondria are in a muscle cell? Tons. How many are in a heart cell? Gazillions. How many are in a brain cell? Gazillions. Those are the things that we really need to feed upon with this particular product. This is what's really putting together everything that the last three speakers have done, is that this ability to take this product and improve your health. You do not have to know anything except one thing. It raises your glutathione. And Dr. Gutman has told us all of that. All of the last three speakers have told us that. We hear it time and time again. You don't need to know the ins and outs. But what is really important is that we all know this. If you've got lots of glutathione, you're healthy. If you have suboptimal amounts, you have a health challenge. And if you have none, you're dead. Very simple. The thing is that when it comes to exercise, exercise changes as you get older. And I noticed that because I started exercising when I was 20, and I'm 61 now. And I noticed that my recovery takes a little bit longer. But if I were to increase my Immunocal, I would be able to probably get a quicker recovery. But I don't, because I want to just maintain a status of a level. And also I have a very, very busy practice, and that time out is very good. So exercising is so important for longevity, for the brain, for making so many different things, but we need to consider the light and how it influences our physiology. And that's really what I wanted to add on to Anthony's talk, because when we talk about the environmental changes, nobody really talks about light, or not yet. And this is something that we need to look at from a long-term perspective of the integrity of the cell on both a quantum level and a physiological level that will affect the whole body. And that's it. There's other things you could look at. You could be looking at, the food you eat and the light that's in the food and the light that you eat that food. That changes your mitochondria. It can get really, really silly. But the bottom line is that we've got a product that's going to raise our glutathione levels. Consider the light that you are working in, you exercise in, you eat in, you live in. John and Keith, thank you very much. And Dr. Anthony, thank you very much for that great talk.
Great. Well, thank you, Dr. McTavish, and Dr. Anthony Krelis as well. It's been phenomenal. And a lot of good points there, Jeffrey. But, the thing that stands out to me is just keep it real simple. Immunocal and exercise and we're going to hang around the planet a lot longer than we would otherwise. So thank you once again. And we're back to Dr. Gutman. Dr. Gutman's got some additional notes for us today. So let me turn the call back over to my esteemed colleague, Dr. Jimmy Gutman.
Thank you very much, John. I told you at the outset we're going to be hearing things for the first time, and certainly Dr. McTavish's presentation is something that's completely new to me, and I will most definitely look into the available research there. But it's wonderful as we see science progress. What it does just validates what our grandmothers always tell us. You know, get some exercise and do it outside in the sunlight. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Just like you know, eat your broccoli, it's good for your health. And now we know broccoli is full of sulforaphane, which helps glutathione levels. So, you know, listen to your grandmother and listen to your doctor at the same time. I've been paying attention to some of the questions being posted on the chat. I'll just deal with those so we can move on to our next guest. The one question that comes up a lot is if I'm taking the Immunocal specifically to increase my musculature, when is the best time to take it? And people have all kinds of opinions. Some people say they take it in the morning. Some people, they say they take it right before exercise. But I'm just going to lean more on what research tells us. And what research tells us is that when you exercise, there's a magic window between 30 and 60 minutes after you exercise where your muscle cells start to replete the amino acids that they need. And this is when the formation of additional muscle or the increase of muscle size is most profound. So for the athlete, usually what I recommend, and athletes, as you know, have a much higher protein requirement than sedentary people. They need to be taking at least 20 grams a day, 2 pouches a day. And so what I tell them to do, if they want to get the most out of their Immunocal, is take the Immunocal in the morning, and that will take care of health issues and importantly, the immune system, which again becomes compromised in people that are overtraining. And then take your second pouch somewhere between a half hour and an hour after you do your workout, and you will benefit the best. If we're just looking at muscle function, that's the way to do it. The other thing that came up, I did ask Dr. Krelis what a 10% increase meant in the geriatric patient, and he told me straight away that this was twice of what we consider relevant. So we're doubling what's relevant, tangible, what an older person can feel and notice on their daily activities of living. But when we look at athletes, and I learned this from John Molson many years ago, when we look at high-level athletes, for example, the Olympic Games, in actuality, the difference for the majority of Olympic sports between the gold medal and coming in 5th place often is less than 1%. So when we're looking at a 10 to 15% increase in muscle strength, it's profound. It's profound, and especially for the elite athlete who is really highly tuned to his or her body, they will tell you that they can feel the difference in a short period of time. So I won't take up any more time. I just wanted to clean up some of the loose ends on the questions here. Just fantastic stuff, and I will hand it back to you, John.
Well, Dr. Gutman, you're not getting off that easy, buddy.
Okay.
Sorry, but you raised a great point, and I know I've had that same discussion with John over the years. But I think back, you and I both love sports, but I think back one thing that I'm sure you remember as well, and now I'm going to forget whether it was the last Olympics or the one before, because he's been in just about every one of them. But that great race when Michael Phelps outtouched the competitor from, I believe it was from Bulgaria, but maybe not, by literally less than a fingertip. I mean, think about that for a second. Look at your finger for a second. I mean, think about that. And of course, Phelps would have been famous regardless because of all his other accolades, and the other guy was pretty good too, obviously. But you and I remember Michael Phelps, but we don't remember that second place person. Now, I know if Julie Gorham was here, was a big swim fan, she would know the guy's name. But point being, less than a fingertip.
Hey, John, let me interrupt.
Gave you that?
Can you imagine the difference in this guy's life? How the rest of his life would have changed if he invested in a freaking box of Immunocal a month before the event.
Exactly. That's where I'm coming from. So let me ask you something else, Jimmy, because Dr. Gutman, the term nutritional cascade is something that I've heard referred to prior to being with Immunotech, even with my other obvious experience. And that 30-minute window, because I get the question all the time from a lot of my athletic friends when they first start using the product, is, when do I take this stuff? And, I always tell them, hey, within 30 minutes of a workout, before or after, frankly, but, I think after it makes more sense from a recovery standpoint. But having said that, if you could just kind of touch on that a little bit, that nutritional cascade of that 30-minute window after a workout and why it's so important to get that product in you within that time frame.
Well, it may be even beyond the time that we have here, but on simple terms, one, the cell becomes depleted of energy and energy sources and the substrates to manufacture energy. Two, the cell becomes loaded up with oxyradicals and free radicals, which need to be quenched so that the mitochondria can be function better. And three, there's different degrees of damage that take place that need a repair. And a lot of this damage is also secondary to oxidative stress, but it's also secondary to the buildup of acid like lactic acidosis, which is why, I'll move to something a little bit on a tangent, why athletes also will take the Immunocal Platinum because the Platinum itself has a couple additional components. One, something that reduces acidosis, including lactic acidosis. So they have less soreness afterwards and have a quicker recovery. And the other component that is in the Immunocal Platinum is a natural peptide that is anti-inflammatory. So, I mean, that's an easy one to figure out. If you have an anti-inflammatory substance going on, your recovery and your recovery will be quicker and your injury will be less, and you'll just be able to work out longer, stronger, more often, and build up muscle. So great question, John.
Well, and that is a great answer. And it comes up a lot, especially now that we're really transitioning into not only a lot of younger people joining our company, but also, frankly, a lot of healthier people, athletic people that are saying, hey, with all the multitude of supplementation out there that they can purchase online or at the health food store or at Whole Foods or wherever, why Immunocal versus, ABC product. And that right there, what you just answered, is so important because, without recovery and without keeping that inflammation down, boy, it's really hard to come back and train again. I mean, you might have a great workout today, but if you don't have one for 3 more weeks, you're not going to gain, in whatever sport, or, whether you're, couch potato back to running the 5K or the guy that's running the half marathon and going to a marathon or whatever it happens to be. So great answer. Thank you as always, Dr. Gutman, for your wisdom, and Dr. Krelis and John Molson and Dr. McTavish. And,
hey,
and
John.
Yes, sir.
John, this is Keith. Can we get John Molson back? I would like to hear a little bit about that resilience, because I know that's been touched on, but I know he has some real insight on that. Maybe we can get him back here for just a moment to talk about that resilience, because it's for everybody,
Go ahead.
Even Mrs. A.
Johnny, you with us?
This concept really was brought home to me by Dr. Brian Moore, who started Oracle and who Dr. Nathan Lewis works for and with. And he, I asked him many years ago how he would characterize Immunocal's effect for elite athletes. And he said to me, that an athlete who is healthy and well is in the best position to elicit his best performances. And this concept of wellness and resiliency, elite athletes are subjected to all forms of stress. And we talk about travel stress, we talk about, training, we talk about competing, all different kinds of inflammatory insults. And he said to me, what Immunocal does to its core, beyond all the specific benefits, it increases the resiliency of these athletes to essentially be able to absorb these different types of insults and allows them to essentially adapt to a greater degree to these insults. And, that's why, part of the big contract that Oracle recently signed with the NBA PA, the Players Association for the NBA, is to focus on player longevity. And part of player longevity is learning how they adapt to all these different stresses and giving them solutions and strategies to improve that adaptation. And Immunocal is central to that. So, resiliency for the elite athlete is very, very important because it's all a question of, are you available or are you injured? And, what kind of training load can you absorb over time? And Immunocal, part of the benefit, it allows the body to essentially absorb a greater degree of training than would normally be the case. So that's how I would, and that's how I learned about it and thought about it based on my conversation with Dr. Brian Moore.
And John, it's a great point, and it goes back to something that I've heard coaches say, and I'm sure you have too over the years, next man up. And if the next man up is available and healthy and he winds up, coming in like Tom Brady did years ago when the starting quarterback got hurt with the Patriots, or if you go back in time, when Lou Gehrig came in for an injured first baseman with the Yankees and, played about 18 straight years, you don't know that the next man up doesn't have a little bit more drive, maybe a little bit more ability that the coaches haven't seen. So when you're talking about multi-million-dollar athletic contracts, in many cases, this isn't just, hey, I want to compete and I want to be great. It also comes down to the bottom line financially in a player's, financial future. So it's really key, everything that we're talking about here today.
Yeah, Dr. Nathan Lewis, who looks after all these different teams around the world and different disciplines, if you're putting a team of 11 soccer players on the field, you can be assured that 2 or 3 or 4 of those are compromised. So you may have 5 or 6 guys operating at 100% of their capacity, and some guys may be compromised. So when Dr. Gutman and myself met with the coach of the Montreal Impact, I put it to him, in very basic terms. I said, think of this, how many 50-50 balls does your team face over the course of a year? And let's say we improve the capacity of your players by 1 or 2%, which means, of those 50-50 balls, say that you lose, let's say we add an additional 20% that you're winning. What would that mean in terms of the outcome of the game if we're winning more of those 50-50 balls? So if you take a game situation in football, hockey, and think of all those different close quarter competitions where you're fighting for a puck, you win a face-off, just flipping the switch on some of those can result in a totally different game outcome. And that's how you think about elite athletics, is those competitions where it's a millisecond, a half a second, or a second, where you're beating a player to a puck, to a football, to a block, etc. And that's how Immunocal acts.
Yeah, it really is amazing, but it's so true. And sports are such big business today, as everybody on here knows, John, and certainly but when you look at that from the athlete standpoint, why should they take Immunocal? And to Dr. Krelis's answer to one of my questions earlier, the sooner the better, right, is the time to start. So those of you with young athletes on the call, if they have any ambition even to play, a sport in college, for example, the time to start them is when they're young. John, if you just want to reference that a little bit with, some of the youth athletes that we're seeing using the product and the results that they're getting.
Well, the simple way to think about this is, I've mentioned this before. If you have a football player, he's an athlete first, a football player second. So the better able that athlete is to navigate cones, to catch a ball, to run wind sprints, to execute different moves, the better football player they'll be. And that's all based on their ability to train, to absorb training, to prevent injury, to prevent illness. And so those are the increments you gain by being on Immunocal. And it doesn't matter if you're a pro athlete, an elderly person, a young athlete, those incremental benefits are going to come to you versus someone who's not on Immunocal.
Exactly. And just the final thing on that too is at all ages, this product is so relevant. And, John, you and I love sports, obviously, and we talk about sports a lot because we both love them. We love doing them and we love following them. But why do we do that? Let me, from a marketing standpoint, let me give everybody where we're coming from and why so much information that Dr. Krelis shared today and Dr. Lewis a couple of weeks ago and Dr. McTavish and Dr. Gutman, and John and myself, why we talk about this subject so much. What one can ascertain is a world-class Olympic professional athlete, even a high-level Division I collegiate athlete, he or she has every opportunity to get exposed to every supplement, every way of eating, every latest scientific thing that there is out there. Most other people, the other 99.5% of the planet, they don't have the ability to find out all of that information. So when you hear of the NBA Players Association working with Orico, working with Immunocal and Immunotech, what can somebody ascertain from all of that? How do you use that in the marketplace to build your Immunotech distributorship? Very simple. If it's good enough for those people to use at the top level of sport, when they have all these other choices and all of this other stuff that's getting thrown at them, but they choose to use Immunocal. And these doctors that you've met over the last couple of months choose to use Immunocal in their studies. The reason for that is because it works, bottom line. And if it works for those people, it'll work for John Q. Public, so to speak. John, you have the last word on that, and we're going to move on.
Yeah, one important takeaway from all the different activities we've done through Oracle, I'm talking about pro golfers, pro football players, Premier League teams. We never paid a dime. That Oracle believed in this product, and Oracle gave it to all these different teams based on the quality of the product, based on the clinical literature, and based on the practical performance they saw on a day-to-day basis with these athletes. So, what they saw in the clinical literature was reflected on the football field. And, versus other companies that will pay millions of dollars to say a team uses it, we didn't pay a dime. We had Oracle as our spokespeople talking to coaches, players, medical staff. So that's a very important distinction when you're talking to people about Immunocal in sports.
Exactly. Great. Well, thank you so much, John. Thank you, everybody else who's spoken so far. And moving along here, somebody runs this business, somebody owns this business, and somebody helps all of us to grow our businesses. This gentleman came into my life and many of your lives about 3.5 years ago, and has made such a difference in helping us to take all the messages that you heard today about Immunocal and about how well it works to market. And not only here in the United States and Canada and the United Kingdom and Ireland and Mexico when he bought the company, but he's added on great countries like Guatemala and the Dominican Republic, and of course, Colombia, Peru, Spain, more to come. He works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for us. An amazing human being once again. And I'm going to turn the call over to my good friend, our owner and our CEO, Mr. Mauricio Domenzine. Welcome, Mauricio.
Thank you, John. What a pleasure. What an honor. Thank you for your kind words, and thank you everyone for joining into this amazing call. And everything that has been shared is so unbelievable, and that's what we have in our hands. So we have a huge responsibility to share out there, John.
We sure do. So it's been an interesting time period, to say the least. So I know we continue to grow. How are we doing that with all the obstacles that so many other businesses have been impeded by? How are we continuing to do what we're doing?
Well, first of all, because of you guys, you are amazing. The people that is part of this family has been doing a great job. They have been doing, you have been sharing with such a passion what we have in our hands that the people understand what we do for a living and why we have such a big responsibility to share this with many, many people. And let me tell you that our commitment with you and with everyone that became part of this family is not always, not that we receive those $500 when you buy a starter kit. What we receive is your trust. And when you give us your trust, we will treasure that trust and we will take care of it like no one else and like no other. And so for that reason, we have been working tireless every single day. As you said, 24/7 seems to be too much, but it's honestly what we do every single day. And it's not me, it's the rest of the group. It's the amazing group that is with me, the group that I have the pleasure and the honor to be the captain, as they said, of the boat of this cruise that is about to become a rocket launcher, because we're going to the next level, John. Just to give you a very few examples, is like last month we surpassed the 22,000 new consultants that signed in our company. 22,000 new consultants, and we are over 400,000 active consultants in this company at this point. So imagine the impressive things. But one of the things that I really, really like the most about these numbers is that this last month we were able to pay over $10 million in commissions. $10 million in commissions. And obviously, most of you have a good part of those. So I'm very, very happy of that. So I know that you have been receiving your checks a little bit in advance. We're doing what we can, and we're going to continue working our every single day so you can get better news and better things every day in your business, in your life, in this project that we are embarking together. So for that reason is that we have been working super hard in making that possible. But again, just hear this number. It sounds easy to say, but $10 million in commissions. We, like literally 3 years ago, we didn't even do that in sales. So now we are over $10 million in commissions only.
Wow. So yeah, let's look at those numbers for a second, if we can, Mauricio. And I'm a lot older than you, so my brain doesn't work as well as yours does. But I know you love numbers and I love numbers. But I think it was May was the first month we cracked just a hair over 20,000 new people. And then June, I know that went a little bit over 20,000 again. And then July, and that means August, we're at a momentum where 20,000 is almost becoming a normalcy, and now 22,000, which, think about that for a second. That's 2,000 more families that are not only trusting Immunotech and trusting Immunocal as their product of choice for their families, for their health, but also trusting our business model. So if you want to talk to those people, the new guy on the line today, the new couple on the line, the new lady on the line today, share with them a little bit about, your vision for them, for their future with Immunotech.
Well, first of all, John, I think that you guys, and some of you that have been with us for over 20 years, you can attest that this company is genuine, is authentic. And I think that when you join into a new company, one of the first things that you need to know is if they're for real, if they're going to be here for a long run, because again, you're starting a business with us, you're starting a journey with us. So you need to understand that this journey, it's a journey that we're going to do together. We're going to embark together. So if you do that, you need to know that the company that you're signing is that. So John, for example, has been with us for over 20 years, receiving checks every single month. And that tells you a lot, because he's still engaged. He's still, and you, John, talking to you, you're still engaged. You're still happy. You're still passionate listen to what we have heard for the last few minutes in just talking of what our product does. It's like it gets excited every single time that you hear about it. So it's not that you have not been hearing this for over 20 years. You have been hearing this for a long, long run, and you still get excited. And when we still do, Dr. Gutman, John Molson, every single individual that works in this business and into the research side, we're still engaged. We're still super passionate about our science, even though we cannot talk much about it because of regulations, and we cannot talk about what, like, the benefits, the amazing benefits our product has as we could. But we still engage in that, and we're going to continue doing research. We're going to continue doing more clinical trials. There are some going underway. So there's a lot to say there. In the past, you were hearing it doesn't matter what product you have, but it does matter that the compensation plan is good. That is not a reality, not at least not for today. You need to have something to share, a real product that the people get in love with the product, and that's something that you really, really need to understand in this new business that you're building with us. So great compensation plan. Yes, we have a great, amazing, generous, but more than generous, fair compensation plan. You don't need to get here 20 years ago or 5 years ago. You can start today and still rock your world. Literally, you can do whatever you want because it depends on you. There's nothing that others that signing before or after, nobody, is just the work you put into your business. And obviously the amazing people that sign into this company, that build this family, that build this DNA that we have of living better, because living better is what we do for a living.
Exactly. And you know, along those lines, you know, the economy obviously is tightened up with everything that's happened, and a consumer, right, which everybody, you know, whether an Immunotech distributor or not Immunotech distributor, everybody's a consumer. And, you know, the way I look at that is, you know, we've shifted to an economy of want versus need. You know, you might want to buy a Mercedes-Benz, but right now you might buy a Ford because that's just a practical decision. It's less money. And I think when it comes to supplementation and people's health, they still want to be healthy. They're still trying to be healthy. They know they need to be healthy, obviously, with everything that's happened, maybe more so than ever, and that's a good thing. However, when they look at it, Immunocal has become a need. I believe, if you want to comment on that, where people were recognizing, hey, how, you know, you've got the president of the United States, and you've got the presidents of other countries, and you've got the World Health Organization, all these other people talking about the immune system on a consistent basis, almost every day, right? And then they say, okay, that's great. They're talking about this. Now what do I do about it? And here comes Immunotech and Immunocal and 40 plus years of research and science, and it becomes oh, that's what I need versus what I want. And I think the more people we share that story with, you know, it becomes that much more believable. But if you just want to kind of comment on that, I have a couple other quick questions for you.
Definitely, John. And because we believe Immunotech and Immunocal it is a need, obviously. I shared with you in the last couple meetings that we had that we invest in a new manufacturing facility because we understand and we know that this is a need. And for that reason, we increase our capacity by 10 times, John. So imagine if today we're signing in 22,000 people, we are at least able to do without too much effort going to the 200,000 new consultants per month, plus the active people. So imagine how big is our dream, how big is our belief in what we do and what we have in our hands, that we put that investment into place. And believe me, let me share with you all, last week, it was the first week of production in the new manufacturing facility. We already started. We already pressed the start button there. And for those that you have been or seen pictures or videos of our former facilities, which, by the way, we're going to remain them because we do not want to lose anybody in the team. you will see when you are able to see the videos that we're going to share of the new manufacturing facilities. Oh my God, my friend, we're moving into the 22nd century, not the 21st. It's unbelievable. It's all computers. Is even the ceiling is of stainless steel. The whole place. It's unbelievable. You will see it's out of this world. And again, in thinking about Immunocal being a need, that is why we committed so big in doing that, John.
Well, it's been phenomenal, and I know many of your key employees obviously are people I've gotten to know through the last couple of years. Some that have been here, and some of the new folks, and your commitment not only to us in the field, but your commitment to everybody associated with Immunotech, including your employees and staff during this crazy time that we've all lived through the last 6 months. It's really something I have to say is admired not only by me, but by so many people in the field of your commitment to, your Immunotech family. If you want to comment on that, and I've got one other question for you.
Definitely, John. We have, since the beginning of the pandemic, that obviously is a very tough times for the humanity. We understand that, but our commitment is so big with our family, inside, outside, that we were completely committed to make everyone stay in our company. So we haven't reduced our staff. Actually, we have hired probably like 25 people in the last 3 months. We haven't furloughed anyone. We haven't reduced salaries or anything else. And 100% of our employees are working from home. 100% of our employees, because our safety and the safety of this family is the most important thing for us. So even though, as you know, we are a business, and I'm not afraid to say that, and I'm not ashamed to say that, yes, definitely, we are a business. We make money, and that's what we do, and that's what we do for a living. But people first, no matter what, people first. So we were completely willing to do whatever it takes, whatever it makes for us to stay safe and to keep everyone in this business.
I guess my last question for you on that is, and I'm actually, I know you're a fan of Jim Collins, and I'm a fan of Jim Collins, and most people on the call hopefully know who Dr. Collins is, the author of Good to Great and Built to Last. And I'm in South Dakota now. I'm actually heading to Boulder on this trip, so I may get a chance to meet him. Who knows? Maybe I'll knock on his door. But anyway, Dr. Collins has that great expression about the BHAG, right? The big, hairy, audacious goal. So here, roughly 4 years ago, you and your team acquire Immunotech. We're 96th or 98th company in the DSN 100, so we barely made the list. We were down there with companies in some cases that are no longer even functional. And here we are now, 3 short years later, number 42, I believe we were last year. And we're moving up, and with 22,000 new people last month and consistently hitting, 20,000 new people joining the business, et cetera, et cetera. That's got to make you feel really, really good about what you have accomplished and what your team's accomplished. But more importantly, from all our standpoints, you're talking 22,000, but now we have the capacity where if we had 220,000 new people join in a month, we could fulfill those people's product needs, most importantly. So I love the way that you think. But if you want to just kind of pick up on that a little bit in terms of what is Mauricio thinking about the next 5 years, 10 years, where are we going and where are we growing most importantly?
Thank you, John. Well, as you have heard me before, and I've mentioned this several times, I'm not inspired to be the biggest company in the world. That doesn't serve any purpose for me, or it doesn't excite me at all. What I want to is that our company became the best company out there. And if that, as a result, we would become a extremely big company, we will be more than happy, because of one specific reason, is that we are reaching more people, and that's the goal that we have. We want to reach as many people as we want, and why not? We we probably do a big jump and going into the very far to the Oriental markets, to the Asian markets, that we will, at some point, we will need to start talking about and touching about those markets. And definitely, when I started here, as I said, I don't care about being the biggest, but you need to have goals. And so when we get into this company, we said that we wanted to be part of the first 50 companies in the DSA. And there was many people, I think, including me, that thought, what is this crazy person talking about? And yes, why not? We are crazy, but isn't it life about that? Crazy goals, but working hard to make them happen. And right now, our crazy goal is to be one of the first 10 direct selling companies in the world. And we're going after, my friend, and we are going to make it just because of you and just because of everyone that is part of this family. So thank you, everyone, for that. And as always, we close with saying something very peculiar from us, is saying our name. And I am Mauricio Domenzine, and I am Immunotech.
Well, thank you, my friend. You have a great balance of your weekend, and thank you for everything that you are doing for all of us, and it's much appreciated. So I know I speak on behalf of everybody on this call and everybody not on this call for that matter. We appreciate what you and all the folks at the company do to support us. It's a great team, and I'm just happy to play my little role in it. So thank you once again.
Thank you, John, and everyone here. Please, as I always said, open your minds, open your hearts, but most than anything, open your notebooks and take notes of what they are saying. What the people is giving to you here is pure gold. So don't let it go. So if you're taking your time to be in front of this computer, so do it for something, for purpose, for something that is going to grow in you, and you're going to go into the next level. So please be happy. Remember, there's no goal that needs to be in front of your happiness. Happiness is first, and then succeed. So thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. You
Thank
too.
you, Martha.
Okay, and with that, we're going to go over to another good friend of ours up in Boston, Massachusetts, to help us with a couple of announcements and to close out today's call, and that is Alberto Vogt. Alberto, are you with us?
Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone. It's been an awesome call today. I mean, we've learned more about the science behind the products, and you know, we feel so proud to be part of something like this, because it's not only, you know, we always talk about a business opportunity, but when you have a product like Immunocal and all the science behind it, you know, why not share that with everybody out there? And that's what you guys have been doing for over 20 years, and for the right reasons, right? And along with that, you know, we got a great compensation plan. Of course, the company also supports every one of you with great promotions, great tools, great incentives every single month to support your work of spreading the news. And today I just want to review what we have in store for you during the month of September, because, you know, we continue to provide you not only with, you know, great and amazing products, great promotions like the auto ship bundles that we have every single month, but also special promotions. And let me share with you guys this presentation here, because you know, September continues to be 1 month that we're probably going to break records again. I mean, this year has been awesome, and thank you all for your support. And when we look at the first promotion here, this one is a special one just for 15 days, okay? Here in the United States and Canada until September 15th, we have Controlenta. And, you know, many people love Controlenta because it helps with their joint health, right? And until next Tuesday, you can buy 3 bottles and get 20% off in the United States and Canada. So take advantage, place your order today. And, you know, by having extra product with you, You can then share it with your family members, with your neighbors, and because it's always a good idea to have products with you. And also a special promotion for customers as well. So spread the word until September 15th, Contralenta, buy 3 bottles and get 20% off. Also, Derma, Immunocal Derma, and this is an awesome product that's been in the line for a few years now, and it got a new name last year, Immunocal Derma, and that's the only cream that contains Immunocal. And some of the benefits, as you can see on the screen, it hydrates and enriches and protects your skin. It's dermatologist tested, and I mean, what else can we say? Immunocal Derma until the end of September, buy 3 and get 1 free. So make sure you stock up here in the United States and Canada, because again, you want to have the product not only for yourself and your family, but also for your friends as well. And then we have this special spend back promotions. As you know, about a month ago, a little bit more than a month ago, we launched the option of paying your orders in every country that we have Hyper Wallet with your Hyper Wallet account. So if you're saving some money in Hyper Wallet and not transferring everything to your bank account, your commissions to your bank account or to your Visa card, you can leave something there and take advantage of this promotion. These 2 packs, a 600 point pack and a 1,000 point pack. These are the prices for Canada and also for the US. I mean, great. This is like the highest discounts we've ever offered, because we want you to take advantage of this new tool to pay for your orders, which is spend back. So if you don't know about it, talk to your upline and they'll tell you more. Also, you know, we also have great starter packs. As you know, we have a 1,000 point pack, we have a 2,000 point pack, well, a couple of 2,000 point packs. In the United States and Canada, we have the 5,000 point pack. But for September only, actually this was launched last month in August, but because it did so well, we extended it until the end of September. So, you know, when you talk to your new prospects, offer them this pack as well. This one includes the shake and also the boosters, and they get a free shaker cup, and only $495 in the United States, $510 in Canada, plus shipping and tax. So make sure you offer this pack, which offers a great discount until the end of September. So you want them to start enjoying the on-the-go shakes, which are not available on any of the starter packs. And also, as you know, during the month of August, we were telling all gold consultants and all, you know, associates, ventures, silver consultants to promote to gold, because something good was coming in September. So for all the gold consultants who requalified their gold rank in August, and all those consultants that promoted to gold in August, now they're participating in a special incentive promotion, which is good for the month of September, October, and November. And what does this mean? You know, shine like a gold. This means that, that as a gold consultant who's being paid as a gold in August, in September, if you do it again, just requalify your gold rank again and sponsor 3 new people in September, you're gonna get a bonus of $100 in the United States and 130 Canadian dollars in Canada. So on top of all the, you know, commissions that you get, all the bonuses that you get, and if you are a gold consultant that just promoted in August, in September, when you requalify again, you're gonna get your bonus, your $500 bonus. Well, you're gonna get an extra $100 in the United States for just requalifying, and of course, building your team with 3 more new people personally sponsored by you, because that's the key here, to continue to talk to your prospects, to continue to bring more people into your business and like Mauricio said 22,000 people took advantage of this opportunity last month, and I think August will be another record month because the more people you tell about it, the better they will do. So the same thing goes for October. You requalify your gold and you get the bonus as well. And guess what? If for some reason you promote to diamond during this time, you still get it because you're already participating on this. So keep working hard, keep spreading the word, and you'll see what happens in your organization. And lastly, I just want to remind everyone that going to your business back office, then going to the resources library. In there, you will find all the promotions for every country. You can find flyers, all the tools that you need to continue promoting your business. So the back office is your best friend in terms of getting the tools that you need to continue promoting your Immunotech business. And don't forget, John, Keith, and everyone else, October 17th will be our next Zoom-tacular. So we will be there. John and Keith and Mauricio and everybody will be there. And I'm sure you will also be there as well. And with that, John, take it away, my friend. And thank you so much for the invitation today.
Well, do you have the book flyer? Did Keith send you the book flyer?
Yes, sir. We got it. So you want to talk about it now? We can.
Let's put that up for a second if we can. It always seems like we're trying to sell books, but we're trying to help everybody to grow the mind. Ben Franklin said, if you grow your mind will fill your purse. So we have a special this month, not only our Moving Up book, but also a book that our good friend Dr. Tracy Jones from Tremendous Leadership has written, as well as some of the classics, including How to Get Rich by Dr. Wattles. Now, Wattles, if you're not familiar with him, was the predecessor to Napoleon Hill. Much of Think and Grow Rich came as a result of Dr. Hill actually reading Dr. Wattles. So anyway, if you don't have these books in your collection, you ought to get them. So anyway, we have a special on that you can get from tremendousleadership.com. And the other thing is I just wanted to mention, and hopefully, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. I don't know where my camera went. Okay, can you see my bottle of Contralenta here, Alberto?
Yes, we can see it.
you can see it, okay, because I can't see myself for some reason. But Contralenta is a product that obviously I take it. Obviously, I take it everywhere in the world. I'm in South Dakota right now, and I take it with me everywhere that I go. And I got to tell you, it is a product that came as a result of some of the injuries and things that I had over the years that I kept talking to Dr. Gutman about, and he finally said, okay, let's build something unique here. And this is a unique product, and it's what I call a sleeper product, Alberto. And it's a sleeper in the sense that, Immunocal and Immunocal Platinum are such amazing products with the booster that obviously, that's where we spend 95% of our time talking about. But if you're going to deal in the athletic market, athletes have aches and pains. Most of us have had surgeries. Some of us have had multiple surgeries. That product right there will help you to open doors with people in the athletic community. Okay, because they all have aches and pains, whether they're young, whether they're old guys like me, or they're, somewhere in between. They've hurt this, they've hurt that, and just sometimes it's just in recovery. Once again, that's a sleeper product. I'm really glad to see that we're going to promote it this month heavily. So don't lose sight of that product. It's something that can open doors. If you haven't used it, by the way, start to use it. If you have aches and pains, you're going to find some relief. And anyway, I just wanted to put my 2 cents in there that Contralenta is a product that, once again, is a worthy product. You could build a company on Contralenta, frankly. Some people have, for that matter, in the non-multi-level world, in what that product does. Ours is better. Ours is formulated from athletes to athletes. I'm just going to tell you that. So anyway, I won't get into the whole story of how it evolved, Alberto, but it's a product, once again, that is a necessity in the athletic community, or for that matter, anybody who's ever had, an ache or a pain, you're going to find some benefit with that product. So anyway, just want to put that in there. Alberto, thank you for everything you do, my friend. I know you're glad today. I can see you're smiling much different because the Celtics won last night. I'm sure you had a late night.
For sure.
I watched the game. It was a great game. But anyway, thank you for everything that you do. I don't know if Mauricio's still on. Thank him and John Molson, of course, and Jimmy Gutman. just amazing guys. It's been my privilege to work with both of those gentlemen now for a quarter of a century, and Dr. Krelis was amazing, and Dr. McTavish was amazing. So I hope I didn't forget anybody, but I've been at a deficiency here working off my cell phone instead of my computer. But I want to just thank everybody once again. October 17th, put it in your day timer, put it in your phone, write it on a little yellow tab, wherever you put your notes. Okay, October 17th, going to have another phenomenal call. So with that, I want to thank everybody. I don't know if Keith is still with us or not. I know he's traveling. Are you with us, Keith? No, I guess Keith is gone. So, okay, everybody, have a blessed and successful weekend. 22,000 people. Let's do 25,000 this month. Thanks all. Bye-bye.
We have only one life to live. Just one. So, live better. Live your best life. And make a difference. We can show you how. Because living better is in our DNA. Because we are inspired to enhance lives, including yours, with everything we have to offer. Vitality, a vibrant community, and prosperity that matters. Because we know our purpose, and we live by it. We are all about happiness, integrity, science, celebration, and family. So, let us celebrate together, being the best, living our best, by creating the lives we have always envisioned. Because together, we can discover the joy of finding our own potential. Because we are Immunotech. We are all Immunotech.